Hello, folks. Welcome back to FEAST Foreplay, the conversation with Global Sexuality Experts. We're here talking all things FEAST, and if this is the first time you're listening somehow, FEAST is the festival of embodiment and sexual transformation, and you're very lucky to have found us in this particular moment because we are less than 2 weeks away from our annual festival this year. I'm Jordan Hackett. I'm one of the directors of FEAST along with Susan Stark, an incredible community event that's been happening now for 5 years. And I'm joined by Glenn and Glenn Bailey, Jo Marie, who have both been involved in FEAST before and are returning this year as facilitators in their own right. We're very excited to have them here. I'm excited to be chatting with you both. Glenn has been in group workspaces, working in rites of passage and with human beings in various capacities for around 30 years now, and has been in the sexological bodywork community for some time as well. Jo Marie, you've had an incredible background in midwifery, in birth, and the intersection between how that works for human beings and relates to embodied consent, empowered eroticism, sexuality. So yeah, there's some really beautiful, unique wisdom that you both hold. Thank you for being here with us.
Thanks, Jordan.
Yeah. So I'd love to hear from you first, Glenn, briefly, just like, how did you find sexological bodywork when you did? And what was it that happened in you that had you lean into that after whatever other pieces of work you were involved in at that time?
Good question. Yeah, look, I was very passionate and committed to a path of celibacy in my 20s, and I got to my early 30s, and the celibacy was, I guess, supported a way of really deeply inquiring into, well, who am I and what's life really about? And I noticed in my early 30s, I really had a door open into curiosity around relationship. And in that process, I realized that in some ways I felt disconnected from my sense of sex and sexuality. And so through attending through a range of erotic empowerment, sacred sexuality, sensual massage kind of workshops and processes over many years, I got to a point where I felt like I not only wanted to support people around emotional intelligence and rites of passage and group work, but curious to how would it be to include a somatic sex education piece. And so that's when the door opened to sexological bodywork. Yeah. And that was probably about 13 or 14 years ago now.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, there's many things in there, I'm sure, that are rich and unique. And the one thing that really stands out to me is something that I hear quite often in our circles and in the stories of the people that show up to our spaces and even us as practitioners, is this recognition that at some point in the journey, in whatever we were doing, we looked around and was like, sex is kind of missing. Like, it's missing in the conversation or the exploration, or like, what is this energy, this thing inside me, this desire, this pleasure? Like, there's just so little conversation and acknowledgement of it in so many of those group spaces that we can enter. So yeah, it's beautiful to hear how your particular unique journey took you to that place of wanting that to be a conscious exploration in your life.
What that sparks in me is simply acknowledging that I got to a point in my life where I realized I didn't really have the sex education that I would have liked.
Totally.
And when I came across sexological bodywork, somatic sex education, and went and saw a practitioner for support for a while and attended a group or two, I realized, wow, this whole piece has an opportunity to give me an education that I just never received.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah.
Jo, I'm sure that you have an incredibly deep and rich history. If you've worked in the birth space, there's so many varied stories and like just a mixture of, really challenging hard things to look at actually in the world right now, as well as incredibly beautiful and precious moments of life springing into being. And what I'm most curious about, if you're willing to kind of talk to it, is like, what is it in you? How is the relationship connected between sexuality and birth? Like, obviously, there's the really clear element of conception and creation, but a woman's or a person's relationship with their own sexuality and how that relates to birth. Can you speak a bit into that space?
Absolutely. And what you were just speaking about, Jordan, too, is really relevant because sexuality, I think that conversation about sexuality is missing in
Mm,
that
mm.
space. Absolutely.
Yes, totally.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, Look, I was really lucky to have an introduction into birth that included a lot of awareness around embodiment and sexuality myself.
Wow.
So I started as a doula,
Mm-hmm.
and the group of people that I was surrounded with were very much all about the first thing to learn is about being present in the room. And every doula in our learning group, part of their training was to have rebirthing sessions, explore our own sexuality, really inquire about, how is our body showing up in the space.
Wow.
So yeah, and I'm aware that now, that that's not necessarily a common introduction or pathway. So I feel really grateful that I had that beginning. So my learning and then my experiences as a midwife after that were very much through that lens.
Mm.
And there are many different avenues I could go down around that, but I think one thing that I have seen is that folks, whether they're the birthing parent or other people close to that person, if there's an awareness of sexuality and some acceptance of their own embodiment of sex,
Mm.
there's some freedom that happens in the birth space, and there's some how can I put it? I don't know. It feels like it flows. There's a flow that happens, and often myself and other midwives I know will speak to a birthing person and ask them, okay, so how are you with orgasm? How are you in your body? What is that part of your life like? And that I feel we see translate into birth.
Mm. Mm. Yeah. Yeah, beautiful. It's funny what you just said around orgasm. Like, I'm not a birthing human. We definitely know that. But I have experienced very clearly in my life my capacity to be with pleasure is also directly related to my capacity to be with pain. And obviously, birth is many things. It's not just pain, but it's like when we talk about actually being able to inhabit the body and remain connected to our felt experience, what's actually going on and not drift away to a faraway place. Your
Yeah,
capacity to be with pleasure is directly related then to how much you can breathe through and actually be present with those incredibly deep and sometimes challenging experiences.
yeah, 100%. I think it's about being with what is, and my work as a midwife, and I think that's how I kind of got interested in
Mm.
somatic sexuality is like, oh, it's the same.
Yes.
So my job is to sit with and be with someone through whatever comes up and just help them stay present,
Yes.
basically.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So that they can allow that process to release or, yeah, whatever is going on in the body.
Mm. Mm.
So for me, there's a lot of similarity there. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm just imagining to myself, like, if somebody's really new to these spaces and hasn't birthed before, it's like, if you want to do birth prep work, actually, some really valuable birth prep work is like pleasure based, erotic based exploration, like being in the body in that way. And I feel like I had such a gift of being able to support and witness my partner just recently. I've got a 10-week-old bub, and my gorgeous woman, Tamika, she's going to be at Feast. And getting to witness her as, after she's had this incredible chapter in journeying through life and deepening in these forms of work and in herself, it was so evident her sense of agency and just like she knew each step of the way what was right for her because she was so connected and in touch. And it wasn't a head process even. It's like sometimes thoughts would come and whatever, but most of it was just instinctual information emerging, step by step. Like, and some of the things we were deciding on really late because we were like not actually worried about people's structures that, well, you need to have this done by then and that done. It's like, no, it's actually just arriving at the right timing for us, So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think what's coming to me is, there's a trust in the body, there's a
Yeah. Yeah.
deep trust in the power of the body to inform us. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. I feel like this whole conversation, like one of the things that's really shouting at me is the word somatic. And a lot of people don't know what the word somatic is. The basic kind of definition is like of or relating to the body. So it's anything that's body based, anything that involves the body essentially. And most of our work is very much formed around that. And one of the workshops you are both bringing to Feast is around shame and being able to flip the relationship with shame. And what I would love to talk a little bit about next is like, there's lots of ways you can explore sex, and there's other kind of more traditional or conservative, I'm resistant to even use that word, but ways of exploring sex, sexuality, development. And some of them can be quite head-based, and it's not that they don't have their place or value. And we focus really heavily on the body. And what I'm curious about is what you both think about the importance of working with the body when it comes to shame, and how important it is to work with the body when it comes to transforming shame.
Yeah, the workshop that we're going to run is called Body Love, Transforming Shame, Welcoming Appreciation. And what arises in this moment with what you're asking is about acknowledging what gets in the way of my experience of being fully embodied, present, self-loving, self-accepting, and open. And so I notice that if I get caught up in comparing myself or evaluating myself or trying to be perfect, that it distracts me from that place of embodied, present, and self-loving. And that distraction shows up for me at times as shame. Like it's more in my head, the kind of thoughts and self-judgments I might have about myself.
Yep.
So how would it be to acknowledge all of that, but also surrender to really deeply listening to my body in this moment? What if it could move, breathe, sound, or touch? How would it show up in this moment? How would it express itself? How would it let go of that baggage and be more here, more present?
Totally.
Yeah.
I'm keen to hear like your take similarly, Joe, but also to deepen a little bit into the element of like, because I imagine inside of, some of my sessions, sometimes I'm working with a client and I can be talking to them about something. And it's like, we can have a conversation to understand it, but there's something that actually needs to be done about it. Otherwise it's not, they're going to walk out the door. They're going to have the same experience. They might have a bit more awareness, but that same reality of feeling shame, whether it's about their body or a certain desire or whatever, is going to remain. So that's where I think, like a workshop like this, where you're both going to be offering some really potent opportunities. What's the importance of that? What's the value of that? Like, because that's not accessible to a lot of people, actually, like.
True. Yeah. So for me, this is the practice. It's the practice. So what I'm reminded of is how, it's not necessarily about eliminating shame. Like shame is just part of the human experience.
Totally.
And I think that one of the things that the work that we do together has brought me is this, what is it? Gosh, it's a willingness to keep showing up, to practice body love. Like I know that taking care of and loving myself allowing access to my own pleasure is it's something I'm practicing. It doesn't just happen like that. It's not over at a certain point,
Yeah.
you know. And some days I might feel a lot of shame in my own practice. Other days I might not at all.
Mm.
And I think, yeah, in terms of just the body experience, what I relate to and what really kind of moved me to work with this topic is that I've definitely had experiences where I've been engaged in a practice of body love and shame has arisen and I've allowed it to be there and I've let it move through and then it has changed, you know. So partly I think it's allowing what is present is extremely transformative and healing.
Yeah, beautiful. I want to get really granular for a moment because I always just love if there's people ever watching that are like, cool, what the fuck does it mean to allow something to be present? You know, there's heaps of people watching that are like, I totally get that. Beautiful. Like, I'm going to take that into my practice. But for the people that are like, how? Can you just give us like a couple of examples if you were in a practice or if you're in an experience in a workshop with another participant? Like, what does it actually mean for us to
Yeah.
allow shame to be present and move through it in that way?
Yeah, and I'm also not saying, you know, like there are things that can move towards and
Yeah.
things that we might move away
Yeah.
from. And
Totally.
some days, sometimes I might decide, actually, oh look, there's shame, I'm feeling it. I don't know. If I can't get past it, I can't get past it.
Yeah. I'll walk around it.
Yeah. Um, I think it's about noticing. I think, you know, it's about noticing and not pushing.
Mm.
And maybe just taking a breath into, oh, would you look at that? This is here. And I think it's less about doing,
Mm.
and maybe just more about being with,
Yeah.
you know, and not creating another layer of, oh my God, there's shame again, I'm feeling it, you know, so the next time I feel it, it's like, oh my God, there it is. And there's something getting bigger. It's more about, that's what I practice anyway, is sort of trying to be with something without adding another layer of complication or difficulty.
Yeah. Nice.
Easier said than done.
Yeah, totally. Totally. Yeah. And when I reflect on my experience of shame, I find that one of the ingredients that's often present is like a severance. Like if I'm not in awareness around it, I mean, like if I'm reactive to shame, then it's often a severance, like it's a recoiling. And it's like if I was with other people, it would be a desire not to be seen anymore and just to kind of like go into my own shell. If it was in a practice, for example, like it might be strong enough that it would actually make me want to stop. And it's like I don't want to keep going because this just feels like I can't. All I have is these negative thoughts or these negative feelings, you know. And I think, yeah, when I imagine taking some of what you were just giving me as examples, it's like to keep going. And it's not to push from that doing place, but it's like, as you said, to actually just remain and be there. And then when you're both talking about body love, it's like, what is it like if shame received love? You know, like, oh, okay, now something really different is happening. And yeah, that's the transformative process that I'm always excited to see people go through because it's just so foreign to so many people, but it's actually incredibly simple and its foundations, you know?
Body love's an invitation to slow down and listen
Yeah.
to all of me.
Yeah.
And that includes my somatic wisdom, the wisdom of my body. I can have whatever thoughts are running here, but the magic in actually listening and allowing the body to communicate.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. And that slowing down and that listening is just essential to being able to do any of this because we can't catch it. We can't make conscious decisions around it if we're just on overdrive, riding over the top of it, you know? So,
Yeah, yeah. And I love what you said too, Jordan, about, you know, what happens when we love shame, you know, like what happens when love and shame are in the same place.
yeah.
I think, it's like, well, what we're wanting to support is a place where shame is not the overwhelming or any feeling for that matter, you know, like yes, it's there, but can we allow what else is there too?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Epic. I'd love to speak briefly about your second workshop that you're both bringing to Feast. I'm going to try and remember the full name, but help me out, please. It's your
Yeah.
elixir of feast, integrating the gifts of the festival into your erotic life, or something like that.
It's your elixir of feast,
Cool.
integrating your experience
Ah,
of feast into your erotic life.
beautiful.
Mm.
So we partially asked you both to bring an integration element, and I know that this is something that you're at least partially passionate about, like that element of integration and helping people really land things, like not just having an experience and then walking on and being like, okay, cool, what's next? Like, so what's your intention together for what people will take out of this particular experience?
I'm it was perfect. It was perfect. The invitation to offer a piece like this was perfect from my point of view. And that there is so much rich and incredible workshops around the whole planet when it comes to sex and sexuality and somatic sex education, erotic empowerment, and so on. And how would it be? I guess, look, I'm really talking from my own experience in that there's many kind of powerful and peak experiences and challenging experiences that I've had in various workshops over 30 years. And what I've probably come to appreciate more since somatic sex education is the value of integration and installation. Like when I have a powerful experience at a festival or a workshop, how can I how can I integrate that into my everyday life? How can I add value to the experience that I've had at that festival into my personal sex life,
Yeah.
into my experience of eros in the world? So this workshop is an opportunity for people who might be asking themselves, oh, I've had these incredible experiences or challenging experiences, whatever they are. How can I let that land more somatically in my whole system, in my nervous system, in every cell of my body, so that I can take even more away and benefit in my life?
Yeah, beautiful.
Mm.
The gems with you in your little basket. Don't leave them at the festival.
That's right.
Mhm.
That's right.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, it's the integration and installations about allowing time to be, to
Yeah.
fully receive.
Yeah. Yeah, and just for anyone that's listening, like installation is quite a particular word we use in sexological bodywork, and it's essentially actually just completely neutral time. It's like just pure beingness time where we don't really move, we don't speak, we might even have our eyes closed. And it's from a neural wiring perspective, it's a really essential element to actually like allow new synapses to form and allow new connections to solidify. And when I look around at the world and even my own life, sometimes I'm like, where's the installation time? You know, it's
Yeah.
churning. And so I think even that in itself is a revolutionary act. And it's a really beautiful gift to ourselves to be able to give that time, you know, and just let everything actually settle in
Yeah.
our systems. Yeah. Is there anything you want to add, Joe, to the integration workshop?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this one. I feel like, yeah, it is this place of pause. And again, it's another practice of slowing right down, before we all head home. And yeah, just be open to listening again, and naming what we've learned, naming what we've already caught that we've learned. And I think, there's often there's more learning that isn't necessarily easily articulated, that just the body is doing of its own volition. And I know for myself, having come back from different workshops and trainings over the years, that tend to get back into life, and then I might start to witness a different sort of behavior happening, or I get some idea about something that I was a bit stuck on before, and I go, oh my gosh, I see how that was connected to the work I've just done. So I think, yeah, there's definitely a place for intentionally hanging with the folks that you know had some learning with, to really just reflect. There's also opportunity to offer each other things like, oh, I noticed this, or you know, I think there's a lot of value in doing that as a group,
Mm.
and kind of, yeah, going home with our own precious learning.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love you mentioning like being with each other in that, because I think that's some people's experience that's most impactful is when they leave not having access to the group of humans that they journeyed with, you know, and that's something I know I used to feel that pull of when I'd leave a space. And yeah, I've felt so grateful over the years that it's like actually my life is set up more and more that I just feel that as a continuity. It's not an ending and a beginning, or a beginning and an ending. It's like just continuing on, you know. So yeah, hopefully as well, these opportunities that people have help them build that and help them map that across into their lives and go, okay, how do I need to structure my life? How do I need to adjust things that this can be welcome in all spaces, not just when I'm carved out 4 days to be at a retreat, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we give each other ideas about that, you know,
Yeah,
and by sharing and saying, "Oh, here's someone who's been to Feast every single time. How
totally.
the hell have you, you know,
Yeah.
continued on the journey?" You know, and sharing those things can help us all to work out how to do that.
Love this. I'm excited for what people are going to take away. And yeah, I'm just doing the happy, wired, crazy dance inside myself as Feast gets closer and closer. I want to acknowledge as well that both of you are coming to the event to help us set up. You're on our setup team as well, so we're really grateful for that. And I know that that other element of weaving is dear to you, and it's really dear to me. So I'm excited that you get to be a part of that, and thank you for offering yourselves in that way as well. It's been a pleasure chatting with you today. Glenn and Joe also run a shared project called Crucible of Love, where you offer professional development work for sexological body workers if people are looking at deepening in certain aspects of their profession, and also offering couples sessions and some other workshops to the general public within these themes that we've been talking about. So I'm going to pop your links in whatever descriptions of the video that people are watching through. Please, you know, follow up, connect with Glenn and Joe if you feel called to work with them. And yeah, come to Feast. If you want to experience the things we've been talking about, come to Feast. Thanks both so much for your time, and yeah, for your time in 2 weeks as well when we get together on the land.
Looking forward to it, Jordan.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah.
Thank you.